This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsterette.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsterette.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsterette.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsterette.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsterette.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Alcoholic Capri Sun, 3D printing for homebrewers, and integrating new tech into brewing and draft systems. We're catching up with Trent Musho from the Brusho. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 401. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, listening or watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, and you want to get yourself a question on the show, I already forgot what I'm saying. Don't email it. Don't text me. Call it into 325-305-6107. And when I use your voicemail question on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. I am one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, and we have a very special show today. I was going to say my bald brother. You're not bald. You just your hair is short. You're not bald. I almost feel like this is stolen valor. You have obviously a head of hair that you can grow. Anyways, I wrote, oh, you know what? It's funny. I was like, the last time I had you on, I had this longer thing. And then this time I said short version. Joining me is my friend, Trent Musho, the creator of the very popular YouTube channel, The Brusho. That's Brusho. Trent, my buddy. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for coming back.
What's going on, man? You can just introduce me as pre-balding. That's totally fine.
Well, I forget. Are you even 30? You're not, right?
No, I'm 34.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be 39 in a couple months. So, I mean, I'm ancient compared to you. I started,
Right.
I started actually balding at like 29 and, but was in denial for almost a decade. And, a couple years ago, started actually shaving it. And, my favorite thing, if this ever happens to you, because again, I see you at least where you have your hair, it's strong there. It's holding on. It is that like the Alamo, but hopefully a better result.
But when people who knew me beforehand and then they see me as bald, my favorite thing that I get from them, if they say something like, "Oh, well, at least you look good," or "you have the head for it," as if I had a choice, right? As if,
right.
Yeah, like, what if I didn't? What would you say then? And I can't even trust you now. I think you're just being nice to me. Like, no one tells someone, or maybe we should. Maybe society would be better if we were just brutally honest friends. But I don't have any friends that go, "Josh, you have a monstrous head. You should wear a wig." Like, I don't have any real friends that have told me that. But anyway, dude, how have you been?
I've been good, man. I was just looking back. It's been about a year since we last sat down and chatted. Things have been good.
Almost a full year. That is true. Yeah. And then I forget when I did your live show, because you do live stream from time to time on Thursdays. I think it was Thursdays.
Usually the last Thursday of the month, I'll do a live stream with somebody in the brewing world.
Yeah. That had been a while, because when I looked it up real quick, I should have looked at the date. I was wearing clothes that would imply it was cold here in Texas. And so that's a very limited window of time here in Central Texas, where, like last week, we had 2 days where it dipped down to like the high 50s. And I was like, "Oh, fall is here." And it's triple digit again. So
yeah,
psych. No, none of that. But anyway, right. I did want to start off. I didn't put it on here in the little PDF or whatever, but you are drinking one of my favorite styles of beer, and I do want to start with that before we catch up with you. Show your. This alone is worth going to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, because you nailed the color. I can't taste it remotely, but I'm going to trust that it was good because that was the recipe kit we shipped you. So it's the best.
Yeah. I can't take any credit. This is your recipe that you gave me. So it's an alt beer and it's fantastic. My favorite beer in town was an alt beer by a brewery called Bagby Beer Co. And they sadly went out of business. So I've been pining for a good alt beer, and I knew that you put on a alt beer festival, so I was like, maybe he's got a good recipe.
We do, and that'll be my segue here. I'll put it up on the screen for people watching again at YouTube. The alt beer, the Alt Pokal 2024 Alt Beer World Championships are coming up October 24th through the 26th. Registration's closed, so if you're just now hearing about this, tough. Maybe next year. Actually, I say that. We have so much room for registration. If you want to still... No, I'm kidding. No, it's done. It's closed. You cannot go to altpokal.com and register, but you just see all the details and the rules and all that. While I'm doing this, I might as well get the other small talk out of the way. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. And this month, you get a dark German lager, a Schwarzbier, shipped out to you. I know, dude. We don't always do lagers. In fact, we rarely do lagers. And we're sticking to our guns. I think people are going to be happy with it. It's a solid recipe. And if you've had the style, which I know you have, Trent, you can attest that it is a delicious style for the upcoming fall. I'm assuming some states experience that season. So if wherever you are, you experience it, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and sign up. Thank you to our sponsors, Munton's Malt, hopstrat.com, and of course, Imperial Yeast, for always providing the premium ingredients that go out every month. And then last but not least, Brew Day Live coming up Friday, September 27th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Central. My pop and I will be brewing that dark German lager Schwarzbier on our YouTube channel. So you can hang out with us at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. It's fun. Dozens of people entertained all the time. We enjoy it. You've joined. You've sat in before. The critical feedback I ever get from people is they're like, "Do it on a Saturday so I could brew with you. I have to work for a living." Blah 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 blah. And I get that, but I also I like my weekends, guys. I'm selfish. If you're new to the show, this is the Joshua is Selfish Happy Hour. But Fridays just works out for everyone. My house during the school year is empty, so my kids and my wife are gone. My pop can get here. Well, I live in a college town, and Fridays is typically pretty slow around here and during the mornings and all that. But anyway,
it's great that you can do it with your dad. That's awesome.
It is. It is. He is, so this is episode 401, and I want to give props to James for getting the podcast going after like the 50th or 54th episode. Todd and I had decided it's dead. And when he got hired on full time, he was like, "Let's do this again. That would be fun." And then I have to credit my father for why Brew Day Live is a thing, because I'd be fine with like, "Hey, let's just skip this month." Again, talking about me being selfish and throwing myself under the bus, I am a black belt in self-deprecation. When I brew, I like to do other things too, and I like to jam music and all that. And when you're streaming on YouTube, you got to be relatively focused on something like the brewing and the chat and all that. And you can't stream music. You can't play it. Copyrighted music would be a big no-no. So
Right.
I'm not going to say they're incredibly fun. I promise. I have a blast. And I wish I got to pick your brain actually for how I did a better live stream presentation. You sent me links and stuff before for the overlays and whatnot, or that you've made in that application you use. But every month I'm like, I'm going to add this to it. Oh, and then when it's like the morning of the stream, I'm like, I forgot how to look up how to add this. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I commend you. I could never do like a 3-hour brew day live stream. There's so much like a normal brew day. There's so much to do, and then throw cameras into it and live audience.
Oh, dude, I know.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it makes us look almost organized, but also that's why I like to do it on a Friday, because that's a work day and I'm on the clock. Mr. Todd Burns, who, again, if you want to get a $25 gift card, call your question into 325-305-6107. I'm going to give you some of Todd's money. And I melt the clock on one Friday a month. It's the least I can do. I have checked. But yeah, it is not. I don't want to give myself too much credit because that goes against the shtick. But like producing the show and like doing the live stream and all that, it's a lot. Like especially in the moment of, like you said, the live stream where and I'm kind of ADD, so it makes it even a little more difficult. But anyway, back to the alt beer. I wanted to say, unfortunately, like your favorite brewery or your favorite beer at a local brewery, and they went under. You're in California, which I'm in the Austin area, and most people would think these are incredible beer states, cities, regions, whatever. Austin is dying with craft breweries. Like they are. One opened in South Austin. What is it called? Is it called Friends? I forget even get the name. It is so hyper local. And obviously it was some venture capitalist money because they built right off of the major highway in town, IH-35. It's this big old thing in prime real estate. But for every one of those, or even micro versions of those, like 5 are closing up. The brewing scene in your area, is that also a common, unfortunate reality that craft beer seems to be hanging by a thread?
Yeah. It seems like for every new one that comes in, another one's going out. So it's tough. But the ones that are still, I think, brewing consistently good beer, they're hanging in. So that's good.
Yeah, that is good. And it is a bummer, especially losing one that had made an alt beer, not just because they made an alt beer, but they made a good alt beer. Because do any of your other breweries in your area even offer an alt beer?
There's one other one called Epic. They make an alt beer.
Oh, that you are near Epic. I've had their alt beer. It's not bad at all. Yeah.
They actually went to their Oktoberfest like party this past weekend. Yeah, they do some good stuff. But the Bagby one was like my favorite, and like every time I went there, and they did a bunch of cool like German beers and Belgian stuff, which every other brewer seems to do, like IPAs, and I have no problem finding a great IPA. It's the other stuff I struggle to find. Yeah,
that is wild, right? Where it's not just because you're in California, but those are the styles that sell. And so, everybody in California, a lot of them have a lot of the craft breweries there have perfected an IPA. Like that, that is where you would go for a good example of a perfect IPA. But you wouldn't necessarily think, I'm going to go to the Bay Area or San Diego or whatever for an alt beer. That's what I want to do. But to be fair, in this country, there's not anywhere I would say, oh yeah, maybe North Carolina, and you go to, is it what's the name of it? Old McElroy? Somebody in the chat, let me know. I'm butchering it. But we've had it sent to us. I have their coasters. That'll save me. It's called Copper. It is the Old Mecklenburg Copper.
Oh, there you go.
I've had that a few times shipped to me because our listeners are the best, but also at the airport when stuck there in North Carolina. And it is incredible. And the color there, see, you nailed the color of an alt beer, dude. I'm so jealous. I don't know why I always make mine too dark. I don't know if I'm adding too much like Carafa 3 or what I'm doing. But mine always turn out just a little too dark. The flavor's there. The taste is good. That's all that matters. But sometimes like I'm ashamed.
Mine is always the opposite. I always end up especially like red ales, or like I'm going for like an amber ale, I'm always under. And so then I end up, you ever use, Wireman has like a dark malt extract that they use to like, darken their beers. You can darken beers with it afterwards. Yeah. So I've used that, and, but yeah, I've struggled with it for some reason. I've had like now 3 videos where I've like I've had to fix it later, because I don't nail it right away. So this time around, I was like, I'm gonna add a little extra of Carafa 3 just to give it like that,
dude, that is so pretty.
Red hue that I'm going.
God, that's
great.
But yeah, again, before I keep saying I'm gonna catch up with you. To be fair, most shows, my actual small talk of other things that aren't even relevant to the guest or anything, go about another 10 minutes. So I'm doing good, guys. If y'all are listening and you're like, Josh, get to the point. The brew day on that, you hit your numbers and everything, right? Like, I mean, the brew day went pretty smooth. And how long did you let it ferment? And how long did you let it cold condition before serving it?
Yeah. So I let it. Brew day went great. No issues there, which is always good. And then fermentation. I just got a glycol machine. Well, which I hadn't, like when we spoke last year, I didn't have it. That was one of my like wish list items. I just got one. And so that has solved all my like fermentation issues, especially as it's been super hot here in Southern California. So I let it ferment for 2 weeks. I think the first week around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I raised it up the second week, and then cold condition. It's probably been sitting on the keg for 3 weeks maybe. So
that's perfect. That three weeks
it's almost crystal clear.
Dude, it is beautiful. I was gonna say, when you don't use any sort of clarification gelatin or anything.
I sometimes, so on this, I did use Biofine, which is like a vegan alternative for gelatin.
Does that just mean it's pretentious gelatin? What does it mean? No,
yeah, exactly. It lets you know that it's vegan.
Yeah, as you're squirting it into the like. I do CrossFit.
Right.
No, that's good. I didn't really. I guess you're right. I wouldn't have thought of it. Is gelatin all gelatin like horse hoof or something like that? Right?
Yeah. It's usually like cartilage and stuff from like animals.
That's so wild. I'm not vegan, but that's still wild when you actually say this stuff out loud of like, yeah, this is horse bones and cartilage and stuff. Oh, okay, no problem. Put it in me.
Right.
Yeah, and not to digress too much, but yeah, I'm not into science, but I'm fine. You want to put what in me? Yeah, sure, okay. Steroids, this. I haven't yet. My wife said when I turn 40, I can. But
there you go.
I'm gonna be jacked. Just a homebrew jacked hour instead of 2 chins.
Just one neck.
Yeah, just one. They called Todd his whole claim to fame in high school. He has no neck, and he's had 2 neck surgeries, and both the times I was like, how did they do surgery on something that doesn't exist? He was not good at wrestling, but he never got pinned because you can't get pinned if you don't have a neck. So he'd just be on his back, like,
right.
You're beating me 30-0, but you didn't pin me. Anyways. Catching up with you now. Now we're starting at the top of it.
All right.
Obviously brewing, making good videos. What's been new since in the last 12 months? Have you obviously the glycol thing? We could talk about that. You're doing more alternative brewing. I see from your channel and all that. Like, what's been up with you, and what are some of the highlights of like your channel in the last almost a year?
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of like the alternative brews, the things outside of beer, which are always things that I am the most excited about. Trying to think. So last year it was around October. So I think right after we did our last live stream or our last podcast, I did a bourbon cider, which was really good. I actually still have some of it. I kind of aged it. So I used like, those little like oak spirals that they sell. I soaked it in some whiskey and then added that into the cider. And I made it like a little stronger by adding extra sugars to make it like, I think it was around 11%. So that was a good one. Especially like as winter came, I was like, this is perfect for like the colder nights. Some other things I did, let's see. I did Kvass was one that kind of did pretty well for me. So Kvass is it's a non-beer thing. It's actually basically you can think of it, there's 3 ways to do it, and I did it 3 different ways. But one of the ways I did it was using rye bread. So you basically soak rye bread and with raisins, and it ferments. The bacteria on the raisins and stuff, great fermentation. And it creates a kind of like a fermented bread drink that is like was super interesting. I didn't expect it to be very good. It sounds very strange.
Yes,
but,
it does.
Yeah, but it was really good. And I ended up doing 2 other versions. I did a beet version, which also I didn't expect to be good, but was really excellent. And then I did a fruited version, and that was super fun because I got people from all over the world kind of reaching out, being like, "Oh, I make this," or "My family's been making this for years."
Shut up.
And
so wait, okay, these alternative fermentation ideas, like, are you are you using like ChatGPT? Like, give me an idea of what to ferment. Are you you have a pretty sizable audience. And what I like about YouTube channels like yours that have a lot of engagement in your comments, you have a lot of people that are interactive with you in regards to what you're doing and giving you feedback. Is your community usually your source for what's next on the channel, or are you just always looking for the next thing yourself because it interests you?
I'm always on the look for like something new, and I think the comments do kind of drive and help me discover new things. But I have like a list, of all these countries and what is their like historical fermented drink that they've been brewing for like centuries. But the comments definitely most recently I did Tejuino, which is a fermented corn drink that comes from Mexico, and I had never heard about it. But I did a video on tepache, which is fermented pineapple juice from Mexico. And people were commenting, "Oh, you should try this." And it was something that I had only heard from comments and stuff. And I did a little research online, but then all of a sudden I started driving around in town and noticed all the little fruit carts sell Tejuino as well.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You never noticed ever, right? I'd never even heard of it till I saw it on your Instagram. And then I had to ask you, because the way you pronounce the word so good, I'm like, wait, are you Latino? And you're like, no, I'm not. I was like, you look more Latino than I do. No one believes me that I am. But tepache is one I feel like a lot of Americans you're in Southern California. I'm in Central Texas. There's a lot of Mexicans around us, right? I'm not complaining, Mom. I'm not complaining. I love your people. But there's a lot of Mexicans around us, so a lot of this stuff is not foreign to us, and like tepache or that's almost like horchata in regards to familiarity, right? Yeah, I know what that is, but say it again.
Tejuino.
Tejuino, never heard of it in my life.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have known it was corn because it doesn't have that word in it. But Tejuino, right? Yeah, and now you're brewing it, or you brewed it and seeing it everywhere around you.
Yeah, so I went and found a local fruit stand and tried it first just to see if it was good, if I something I want to replicate. And yeah, it's super interesting. It's salty, savory, sour, sweet. It hits on all these different notes, unlike anything I've ever made. And I was like, I have to try this.
I forget from the last time I had you on, and if I end up repeating myself and it's something you'd already said before, you can either stop me or just go with it. Just, humor me. Alzheimer runs in my family. Do you share a lot because you brew so much, and especially these alternative ones? There ain't no way you got room for all this stuff. I know it's just you and your wife, I believe. Yeah. So maybe your fridge, she allows you to take it over, or you have multiple fridges. But I'm assuming you're either doing on the alternative fermentation stuff. Is it even small batches than you would do a brew day for beer? I'm assuming 5 gallons is your standard batch of beer.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Usually for beer, I do a 5-gallon batch. And then for these smaller things, ciders, I'll do 2.5, 1 maybe. And then for the kvass and Tejuino, it's a gallon or less, just I want to taste it, see what it's like, and experiment, especially with the Tejuino. I totally messed it up the first time I brewed it, and it got all moldy because I didn't know what I was doing. Did some more research, found out you had to add a lot of lime. The acidity kind of helps keep the bad bacteria out. So did some adjustments, and it helps to do it small, so you're not making it large batch.
And that was the bigger point too that I was thinking was man, if I'm doing something like beer, I'm kind of dialed into how it works, right? I know I'm the village idiot on this show. People think it's a shtick. It's 50-50, guys. But I with beer, for me, I understand the principles of keeping it hygienic and how beer, the process is pretty similar. You might add some variables here and there, dry hopping, different temperature, this or that. But the premise of brew day, hot side and cold side is pretty familiar to me. If it's something that's so alternative, I could see that too, being feeling confident enough, but then, oh crap, I didn't do it. I didn't have enough lime in it or whatever you're saying with this. And then, if it was a 5-gallon batch, oh my God, what a bummer to have to dump all that. But then also brewing 5 gallons is a lot of liquid if you're not sharing with people. And even if you enjoyed it a lot, it's You have to go through all that. What was the ABV of most of your alternative fermentation? Are they usually on the lower end, or are they all over the place?
Yeah, they're usually like 1%, maybe less.
Okay, right
But
on.
I always get the comment that's like, wait, how do you make an alcoholic version?
Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the Tajuino, I was like, all right, let me show you how to make a margarita with this. And the margarita was actually my favorite. I just I took the Tajuino, blended it up with like a lime ice pop and some tequila, and it was fantastic.
That's all. I'll have to take your word for it. And now every like paleta shop I go by, I'm going to ask them for it and be like, oh, I thought you were authentic Mexicans. Right, and they'll be like, why is this white guy being racist right now?
I felt like I was like discovering some secret menu because I go to like restaurants and they wouldn't be on the menu. And I'd be like, you guys have Tajuino? And like, oh, let me check, ask the chef. And they go back like, yeah, we can make you some.
That's fantastic.
So ask around. Maybe they have some.
I will. There's this hole in the wall. If you're all ever in San Marcos, Texas, you got to go to Las Vegas. I guarantee you I'll go there tomorrow because I go there like, I'm basically a minor investor. I'll go there tomorrow and ask him, and I bet you he'll be like, oh my God, nobody asked me for that. Nobody. Yeah. I'll see. Or I'll be awfully disappointed or make it awkward. He'll be like, okay, alcoholic, what are you trying to do? It's 10 in the morning. No, the ABV on Tajuino is low, you were saying.
Yeah. It's like 1%, 1 to 2%.
One of the things I do want to talk, and we don't have to elaborate a whole lot, but I did put it in the title because it was what interested me the most of the last 9.5 months or whatever it's been since you've been on the show. You fermented Capri Sun. And I didn't know if that was a gimmick, like bait kind of thing or what, but I want to talk about how that premise even came about your brain and then how it turned out, because I have a household of kids. My daughters range from 7 to 14, and we go through gallons basically a month of Capri Sun. And if is it worth my time to snatch some and make it fermented? But I do want to know the whole thought process and then the brewing it and how it turned out.
Yeah. I was actually inspired by another creator, his Golden Hive Mead. He recently did a Mountain Dew mead. I probably saw it went very viral.
It was very viral. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that's a popular idea. What other like childhood drink of mine could I, ferment and make into something alcoholic? And I actually looked at a bunch of different things like Sunny D or like those Mondo coolers and all those things. And they all have like preservatives in it, which kind of inhibit yeast growth. They preserve it to keep it healthy, keep it safe. But Capri Sun doesn't have preservatives in it, which I found interesting. And I was like, okay, so maybe I could try fermenting this and make it into something alcoholic. What I found out while doing the whole process is that they kind of changed the recipe from when probably we were kids. It used to be 100% sugar. Now it's like 50% sugar. What? And the other 50% is monk fruit, which is like a sweetener.
Yeah.
They use it a lot now, but a non-fermentable sweetener. So it was a bit of a trial and error and see like, is this actually going to ferment? And I found out that it did ferment, and it was interesting. I treated it like a seltzer, like a hard seltzer. So it was not super high ABV. I think it was around 3-4%, but I just made it, I put the pressure up really high in the kegerator and made it super sparkling, and it was refreshing and interesting.
That's basically near beer, like
yeah,
we can have a party with 3.5-4%, man. Woo! Yeah. Take a whole case of it at my kid's party. What are you doing? No, just Capri Sun. It was such a cool video, and I don't even, in the bigger picture of your channel, we don't have to go into details. I don't even know how it performed, but it was one of my favorite things to watch. Maybe the nostalgia of it. Again, friends, just because I look like this, I am not even 40. So yeah, Capri Sun was a part of my childhood, and I'm with you where sometimes like I'll watch your content, I'll watch any of the other BrewTube guys, Apartment Brewer, Golden Hive, where these kinds of nostalgic things, because we're all around the same age, and I'll think too, like, can we do Dunkaroos? Can he ferment Dunkaroos? I don't even like just thinking like that would be so cool to do that. And Capri Sun, it almost seems so obvious, but no one had really done it. In the fact now, but was the effort like? I mean, did it just taste like sparkling Capri Sun at the end of the day? Is that what you ended up getting? Okay, yeah.
Like the monk fruit, because it didn't ferment, it kept it kind of sweet, so it still had that like. And I picked Pacific Cooler because that was like the best flavor. But it was Fermented Capri Sun. It wasn't like it was going to win an award somewhere, but it was interesting and I had fun trying it.
Right. But one of those things where like I did it and it's done. Not like every summertime.
Yeah.
I asked, I use Midjourney for helping me make AI cover art. And first off, Midjourney, people are like, I understand I'm probably not using AI correctly, but people are like, AI is terrifying how real it is. It never understands any of the cover art when I'm trying to use like corny kids. And even with the Capri Sun, I gave it a photo reference to use and it still butchered Capri Sun. And I was like,
oh, interesting.
So I had to go Photoshop some Capri Sun into a brewing room for the cover art. Let me put it back on the screen for people watching.
You actually had
YouTube.
to do some work.
It was the worst. What am I paying AI, or pardon me, what am I using Todd's money to pay for AI if it's going to still make me work? Yeah, I'm not scared of you, AI, because you can't even produce a Capri Sun pouch. And then I spent way more time than I needed to, because I was like, maybe I'm wording it wrong. Maybe I shouldn't use a pronoun. Maybe, like, what would you call these, citrus pouches? And then that made it worse. It looked like Tide Pods with oranges on the table.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Midjourney, get your crap together, man. Like you said, you've been doing ciders and kvass and Capri Sun. Have any of the alternative brewing stuff and when I say alternative brewing, guys, I'm talking everything but beer, because the vast majority of our audience is beer centric. Have any of those other things become a staple of, like, you always end up having it on tap or in the fridge because it, just blew your mind when you did it for a video and now it's one of your favorites?
Something that I got kind of like into a couple years ago was fermented teas. So making like a hard tea, and every summer I'll make like a peach fermented black tea. One year I did a fermented green tea with melon, and then this past Christmas I did a cherry chai tea. And I did that one with my brothers actually when I was home for Christmas. So of all like the kind of interesting things, I think the hard teas have been like something that I've kind of been recreating and trying again.
Let's talk about that a little. I'm curious. The only kind of tea I've ever fermented was kombucha. And so I'm familiar with what, the SCOBY that it produces, and that's the visual sign of fermentation. Is that a part of all fermented teas, or is that very unique to kombucha? And other fermented teas is done totally different?
Yeah, that's just unique to kombucha. I guess I'm more talking about like alcoholic teas. So adding sugar in it and then adding brewing yeast to it and letting that ferment.
What yeast are you going with?
I think I've used Kvike a lot for it because it's just anything. You can throw it.
You can throw it at everything.
Anywhere. Yeah. And but yeah, you can try anything. Like I've used some ale yeast with it and it works well. And yeah, we
got to get. You know what? I would love pick your favorite recipe. I'd love to publish it, or if you already have it published, just send me the link and I'll just reshare that, because that is something people have. When people ask me about fermented teas, the context is almost 99% of the time about kombucha. I would never have even thought. I guess what is twisted tea would be basically what you're talking about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Basically the same thing. Yeah.
And I only know twisted tea from that viral thing of the dude hitting it on the other guy's head in the gas station. I don't know if you remember that. Insert that clip right now. And we're back. Because Todd has shown me that clip a million times. Whenever he's pissed at me, I'll get that clip. I'm like, hey, wait, what are you saying, boss? What are you going to do to me? But I would be totally interested. Like you said, you could do it with just standard old black tea and don't do anything, but you choose to do adding flavors and all that for the sake of taste.
Yeah, essentially sugar and make your normal sweet tea and then add yeast to it, and you got hard alcoholic tea, and then you can flavor it from there, like whatever you want to do. Yeah.
What's fermentation like? Like the same as beer, five-ish days, give or take?
It's pretty quick, I would say. It's more like a cider, because it's just simple sugars. It's just chewing through it pretty quick. Especially if you throw a Kvike at it and stick it in a warm room, then you can get it.
You're watching it just motorboating. Yeah. I would imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you might not be as lazy as I am. If you're doing these experimental things, you don't really have a baseline of gravity expectations. I mean, you might be doing for the beginning one. You could probably calculate based on. Well, yeah. I mean, what do you use? Brewer. we talked about before, not Beersmith, not Brewer's Friend. You use Brewfather, don't you?
Yeah.
Brewfather. Yeah, I was just name dropping them all. But you friends want to use brewersfriend.com promo code. We are friends with, but they're all good. And Brewfather seems to be the most popular one at the moment, and that's why I remember you using it. But you could just throw in what you're doing in there, and then is that how you get your expectations, or do you not even do gravity readings because you're like, I'm just gonna let this baby ferment till there's no more bubbles, and then I'm gonna crash it.
With those kind of things, it's because they usually end at the same, which is usually like 1.0 or like 0.998 or 996. So as long as I have an idea of what my starting gravity is, then I can estimate what the alcohol percentage is going to be.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes life easy. We live in the best time ever. I've said that a bunch on this show.
Yeah.
But, just even the thought of doing these. But yeah, send me a recipe for your favorite. And it, even if it ends up being like, dude, this is really all it is. Perfect. That's great, because the easier stuff kind of tears the veil for people who get overwhelmed with. I mean, think of it. I don't know if you were this way when you started doing beer, but a lot of our audience is new-ish, and we've almost been doing this for 10 years. So a lot of them have actually become very, very advanced, and they only listen to laugh at me. But we still get new people in all the time. And one feedback I get is like, God, it took me forever to be confident in a brew day. But then when they start doing alternative fermentations or things that are not beer, they're right back to peg one, right? Where they're like, oh God, maybe I should do that, or maybe I shouldn't. Where like I tell people all the time, because I live in a college town and kombucha is very popular with young people. Craft beers, not so much, whatever. But I don't know what it goes for in your area. Like a 12-ounce can of kombucha is over $5 here. And that's silly. That's silliness. Yeah. It's so stupid. When I tell people, my friends who really enjoy kombucha, how cheap it is to make 5 gallons of of it, they're like, and then it literally is just brewing sweet tea and letting it ferment with this very specific yeast. That's what makes it kombucha, right? This starter from either a commercial can, or you can just buy the SCOBY on Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest part. I'm doing air quotes. It's the hardest part, because it really is just, you make your batch of sweet tea, you add your volume basically with fresh water. You make a small batch of sweet tea, you add the volume there, you let it ferment with the SCOBY. And then, unfortunately, kombucha is not a short process of fermentation. It can be upwards of 20-ish days, but my point being, it's worth it for 5 gallons as opposed to buying a $5 can every day.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. The amount that you pay for like 2 bottles can get you kombucha for months.
For months. Yeah. And same with cider, to be fair, right? Like right. You cook up a batch of 3 gallons or whatever you said you were doing for cider. And how, I know brewing beer, I would never make the claim, friends, before y'all comment below, I would never make the claim that home brewing beer saves you money, especially if you value your time. But some of these other fermentable beverages that we're talking about, it absolutely saves you money. Saves you a crap ton of money.
And it's fun. It's easy. They're so much easier than a brew day. You can do it in like 15 minutes. And
exactly. It's so, and it is. And it also, I'm a millennial and maybe sometimes struggle with feeling machismo to my father, who might look down on me sometimes, like, son, I had to help you change your oil again. I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's bonding time, Pop. That's all. It's not because I'm incompetent. But when I make something with my hands, whether it's beer or something, I'm like, I did that. I'm a man. And even if it's like, sipping on fermented Capri Sun with my pinky out, I did that. I'm a man.
Exactly.
Outside of the alternative brews, something else on your Instagram, and you touch on it on your channel a little. You've been doing 3D printing, or you did a video thing on 3D printing, and right now the 3D printing you've done is pretty entry level because you're new to it, right? Let's talk about what you've been 3D printing for your home brewing experience, and kind of what is your plan with it? Are you planning on utilizing 3D printing for bigger things and going that route, or is it still just like this kind of fun gimmick, like, oh, that would be a nice tap handle or whatever?
Yeah. The idea was just kind of like inspired because I've always been interested by it. I saw like my library had a 3D printer, and I was like, oh, I wonder how to use this. I looked into it, and like I found like online they had people post their own designs and stuff. You can just download them and print them. So I found like a thing that was to dry hydrometer and the little tube that you put like, the wort in. So I sent it to the library and they printed it for me. It cost like, a couple bucks. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. But it had some like issues. So I was like, oh, let me just see like how much these are. And they'd come down in price a lot. Like the one I got, I think was like 200, maybe 150 bucks.
That's so
bucks.
impulse.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm going to see what this is like. If I don't like it, I'll return it. But I had a lot of fun. And so initially it was, stuff around the house, organization kind of things like that. And then I was like, okay, let me see how I can apply this to brewing. And people, like I said, post a bunch of great things. Like I have some stuff in front of me actually. So for people that are watching on YouTube, you can see. So one of the first things I printed was this little stand. I always like got annoyed when I like take my airlock off of a fermenter and it's like, where do I put this thing? And there was a little stand that the airlock fits into, even if you just have one, you can fit it onto. So simple things like that, like this is totally useless, but I found it
that
many
is not
times
though.
useful.
As you're showing that, I was thinking my dad and I, every time we are sanitizing a keg, I always have to find something to hang the lid on, and I'm thinking like I should 3D print a stand that would just that would have some hooks at the top to where I can just put it on there so they're dangling. I don't have to worry about it touching something to contaminate. Like, no, that I love that was one of your first things you thought to do, because you're right. Where do I put this damn thing? I'm going to put it on the countertop. Oh, it's contaminated. Or I'm going to, no, that's perfect. I like that.
And that's kind of like the crux of the video was like super hyper specific things that are kind of absurd, but it helps me. It improves my life in some way, even if it's 1%. Like another thing was, this is the like duo-tight ball connects, and these little things are like so hard to get off. I have such an issue, but I printed this little like thing that clips onto it, and then you just twist it off and it comes off easy. So
dude, that's I think Trong of all people too had someone 3D print him something like that for his custom. Not Duotite. Who's the other Australian company that also has disconnects? Not Kedland. That is Duotite. Keg King. He had some custom ones for his. Have you done? Wait, I forget. Has he been on your show?
Trong? No.
Yeah. No, okay. Your show. I'm sorry. Your channel. It's not the same thing at all. You don't do it. Yeah. But your live stream is what I meant. I don't know if he's done your live stream with you, but he with his Potter Brew. I think I've told you about it.
Yeah.
He's told me before. He sent me the. I'm calling them CAD because I've never 3D printed. I don't know what the actual files are called. Are they just CAD files?
I think so. I think that's
Okay. I don't know the lingo, and I don't want someone. If you were like, bro, that's embarrassing. I would finally do some editing on the show. God forbid I look even more dumb on my own show. But no, but he was just telling me how like, oh yeah, I just had someone 3D print these because he does such small batch production of certain things that it's not worth looking into injection molding yet. He can try. 3D printing has enabled him to do trial and error on accessories and things like that. Is that how you see yourself also utilizing it in the immediate future?
Yeah, for sure. Like most of the stuff that I printed was already like somebody else designed it and trialed it, and I just had to print it. But there was a few things where like I had to test things out, and it gave me a chance to like I could print it out quickly and see like, does it fit? One of the things that I worked on for a while was a tap handle. So for a while, if I can get it to focus, for a while I was focusing to try and get like it shorter. So I had to learn like the CAD software, but you don't have to learn all that stuff to start 3D printing. You can download files, send it to your library. But doing the trial and error, printing different versions of this, I eventually got it the way that I like it, and I thought that was cool.
Wait, so the tap handle is 3D printed? Because that was part of what I wanted to talk about too. Show that up on the screen again if you don't mind, so people will see like, oh, that is cool. And what is that? You did like printed black and white paper? No, that is a screen in there, is it not? Yeah.
So this is an e-ink display, and what it basically, you can think of it like the Kindles. You know those Kindles where you like it's not a real screen, or it's like a
the original Kindle. The original Kindle, e-ink. Where it's not, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, e-ink.
Yes, right. It's not like an LCD. It is, you can put any image on it. You just need like an app. So like I can just like tap my phone to it, and it'll send a little picture over to it, and then change it.
Shut up! Look at me. I'm on a tab handle.
Yeah.
Now again, that is an app. So there's a linear spectrum Todd has always shown me where on one side is Neanderthal and he'll write above it Joshua. And then on the other side is Einstein and he'll write above it James. Is Neanderthal Joshua able to still, is this super user friendly, or is it still like, oh, there's a steep learning curve to getting this far into utilizing this kind of tech into your draft system?
This was pretty easy. Actually, it's just an app. It's called NFC eTag, and you just upload any photo to it. So like I'll create my tab designs in like Photoshop or something like that. But you can use I've used Instagram to just like create little text and stuff. And then, you just load the picture into it and then tap it to it. It takes like a few seconds. So it's great. It's been, if I'm changing out, what's on tap, it takes a few seconds.
You need to change that immediately. You don't want that face on your.
No, this is going to be.
It's going to be
next month. This will be my old beer.
For the old beer. Yeah. People, no one else did drink it when they come over. They'll be like, this one, is that going to make me look like that? But okay. Because you've already shown the tap and I'm super interested in the tap. You 3D print it. Is that screen in there? You have to charge it at some point, I imagine. No, it's it has a battery in it. And once it dies, it dies forever, but I think it lasts like years and years. Shut
up. You pay
up.
for the screen separately, and then I printed the case, and then the screen just fits in. And
but the case is not like for guitars, they're single cut. Those are super high dollar. Is that 2-ply in regards to like you did one, you put the screen on, and then you did the other and snap it together?
It's got like a little back that
there we go.
on, so you can just like unscrew it, and if you needed to replace it or whatever.
Hold it closer again, because I'm so thoroughly impressed that is 3D printed. It's so clean.
Yeah,
that photo, but I mean, I'm just saying that looks commercial. I'm surprised that that I'm sure there are Etsy sellers doing that now, right? Where they're like,
oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
You could get so much money from Todd. He would love those screens. You're gonna have to also send me the link for that if you don't mind, the screen, because sure. No doubt people will be like, it's so like, I don't know the reception you get when people see it in person. I imagine it's like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And now I can make all my guests' faces on all the tabs and freak them out. But and also though, it's not if anyone with the app could in theory,
yes,
go and change it too on the fly.
Yeah, so actually you'll see these things in like supermarkets now. And so like they're struggling with people like coming in and like changing what's on, like, because they use it to like quickly change like the price of their produce or whatever. So you can get in there and like prank them. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what, as someone who's worked in retail, granted catconnection.com is not your conventional retail, but working in retail for almost 17 years for this company. And before that, I always had crappy retail jobs. My favorite customer was the one who would find, the whatever product, the coaster that is normally $400, but they would go put it underneath a tag that said $29.95 and be like, it was here. You have to honor that price. You have to honor it. That's the law. If you don't honor it, I will sue you. Be like, but that says cornbread mitts, dude. Like you can't. It obviously is not a PlayStation 5. Like it says cornbread mitts. No, that doesn't matter. It was underneath that UPC. But I can't. Yeah, I like how technology can make a company's life seemingly easier until people find out how to exploit it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, I would love to do. HEB, which is our big grocer here in Texas, they do not use those. Otherwise, I would be the one to troll them until I find out if it's illegal and like punishable by something other than
it might be. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'll edit this part out. Well, I wasn't a joke earlier, and I have to preface to NSA, CIA, whatever, that I am just joking right now. But I've always joked my wife won't let me get a 3D printer because she's afraid I'm going to be on some list after I try to 3D print a firearm or something. I have no interest in. I know. Yeah, that's why. Edit this part, Josh. But I swear I am just joking, guys. I am.
It's out there. I mean, whatever you want to print.
It is
websites for it.
I have looked at, so I've been getting into more videography stuff, and there are a lot of little things that would make my life easier for if I could just find them as a cold shoe mount. And I've always thought, oh, I bet you that exists somewhere in a file. And I should check my library. Who would have thought Like I know you ended up buying one. Who would have, you're right. A lot of public libraries probably have them. And then to trial something for a few bucks, probably worth it.
Yeah, it just depends on like how big a thing you're printing, but it could be a few cents up to a couple bucks. And
another thing I'd love for you to send me the link to is a 3D printer, so that we can share it with people who might be interested. And it's like filament, that's what it's called, right? That you use.
Yeah.
Is that stuff go a long way, or is that kind of like where the price starts adding up?
That's where it can add up. It depends on what you're printing and if you're replacing something that you could otherwise buy. And there's a ton of different kinds. So like these have all been like hard plastics, but I even printed like these are like, there's some like squishy ones, more soft ones that I use for like grips on my fermenters and stuff like that. So you can get kind of crazy with it.
That's so cool. Yeah. I would just pick your brain all day about that if I could. It'd be the homebrew tech. And I say there was that podcast. I don't know what happened. Colton or Coulter, I forget his name. I don't know if you ever remember that podcast, the DIY homebrewing, I believe is the name of it. He's actually the one I think I heard of Trong from, where he had Trong on there. It was a few years ago. It might have even been before COVID when he shut down his podcast. But I've always been interested in, this hobby, as you may have known or not noticed. I don't know how it is out in your immediate homebrewing community. A lot of engineer types and literal engineers that are in the hobby. And one of my favorite things about engineers, they're autistic. But the second favorite thing about the engineers that I really like is that they are so intuitive with like finding a solution for and maybe no pun intended, an over-engineered solution to something where it's like, I need a better way to stabilize my fermenter. And so they, 3D print, and then it's this massive thing or whatever. And I'm like, I love that though. I would never have thought of that. I would have thought, I'm going to go to Google and see if I can buy it. And they're like, no, I can invent it. So technology in 2024 has enabled us to make solutions that for relatively low risk and low overhead.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm no engineer. There's a lot of people way smarter than me that post things online. So if you have an issue in your home brewery, check out websites like Printables may have something that can help you out.
Yeah, I'm no engineer either. My wife says I am on the spectrum, so that's my street cred into that community, my friend.
Right.
One thing too, I know it's almost coming up on an hour. I do appreciate your time. I respect your time. Before I talk about your channel and stuff, I know we met in person at HomebrewCon 2023. Had the time of our lives. It was a really good trip. San Diego, what a town. And I thought the whole show was overall fun. I don't know the word success, how they would quantify that, the Brewers Association, all that. But as we know, as you and I know, but listeners might not, this year they decided they're not doing a standalone. They're going to be in Denver as part of Great American Beer Festival. Not my favorite integration, but they did give me free passes in, so it's the best ever. No, but are you going to come out for? Did you even try to get media? What are your plans for Great American?
No, I did not. This year was just ended up being too busy. So I don't think I'm going to make it. But it sounds interesting. It's like more like a booth, or what are they doing? Yeah.
Again, so we're trying to get them on the show in the future. I don't think they watch it. I could say whatever I want. I believe it is going to basically be a glorified booth area called Homebrew HQ that you just have to have a pass for that day. My understanding is, and an active membership to Homebrewers Association to then be able to get in and drink approved homebrew, because it's not legal. Yeah, you can't. It has to be approved as part of the serving thing because of liquor laws, I guess, in Colorado, or serving laws federally. I have no idea. I don't know how maybe we weren't legally getting away with it when we were doing this stuff, like club night stuff and all that. Maybe that was just one of the, don't ask, don't tell type of situations. But, and they are doing, unfortunately, Todd, James, and I will not make it. They are doing a club night. I'm doing air quotes for audio listeners. They're doing it the Wednesday of that week. So Great American Beer Festival is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're getting there Thursday to then start that evening going to the stuff, and we're leaving that Sunday. I just found out, Wednesday night's club night, but it's at a brewery and it's a whole separate event, and they are encouraging people, dress up. And it is, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. but I am an old curmudgeon to where it's like I'm romanticizing the good days of it, where I don't want to do that too much because this could end up being, hey, a lot of fun. And the unfortunate reality is if they aren't doing a standalone event, it's because not enough people were going to it anyway, right? So it's not victim blaming, or that's not even the right phrase, but like, obviously, if it made them money or made financial sense, they keep doing it. What I'm more interested in is maybe in the future, there'll be regional type of things that me and Todd and James can go travel to, not like maybe not on the scale of just it's craft beer weekend and Charlotte's, wherever. Like I was trying to think of North Carolina where I went to the brewery at. I forget the name. Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the name of the city. Like not just like their little homebrew club, but like if maybe regional things do start doing bigger, like camping type events. I'm in a group chat that you're in as well, and people have thrown that idea around. I hope the people who did actually pursue that because that would be fun.
I hope it comes. Yeah, I hope it comes back next year, like in some form. It'd be great to see.
Yeah. Well, I was really not trying to drag out that part. I was hoping you would say, I'm going to be there. And then I'd be like, yeah, and we're going to, but no, now it's just me and James and Todd.
I hope it's fun, man. I hope you have a good time.
Yeah. If we don't, I'm not publishing any content, and that's how you'll know. You've never been to Great American Beer Festival, have you?
No, I haven't.
So it is impossible to not have a good time at it. Even Homebrew HQ could be a big, whatever. Great American Beer Festival. Todd took me to my first time. We worked it, actually. We had a booth selling bottle openers of all things, believe it or not. But we were selling bottle openers in 2013. I think it was either 2013 or 2012. It was the year. I might be wrong on the year. If you go on YouTube and look up Triumph the Insult Comet Dog Beer Festival, that was the year Triumph was there. Are you familiar with him, or are you too young?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Robert Smeagol was one of my all-time favorites as a writer. He was like a tertiary cast member on SNL back when he was a writer for him, and he was a a writer for Conan. He did all the Saturday TV Funhouse stuff, Ambiguously Gay Duo. All of that is Robert Smeagol. And so Triumph, when we were walking around, when Todd, after slave laboring us all night, he was like, okay, you take a 10-minute break. And I got to see him roasting people. I was like, oh my God, my life, I could die right now. At the time of my life. But anyway, you cannot have a bad time at Great American Beer Festival. There's so much beer to enjoy and people dressed up. The only downside, it's a public event. So you've probably been around enough public drinkers to know how rowdy it can get when people overdo it, which is inevitable. Unfortunately. But what I will wrap up with you, again, I respect your time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. With the channel, since we last had you on, you did add this pretty consistent live stream component of featuring other people who do it, who brew, who have their own channels and all that. Is there other elements to your channel you see yourself adding or expanding on, whether it be seasonal brews coming up or more alternative or whatever? Like what can people kind of anticipate coming down the pipeline from the Brusho? Because I know it's not your full time either.
Yeah. Definitely have a lot of fall recipes coming up. I always do like a big Halloween episode where I get a little weird with it, but got that planned. I've actually got a trip coming up soon that is going to inspire a lot of alternative fermentations. I'll leave you on a little cliffhanger there. But yeah, definitely a lot more alternative fermentations coming down the line. And then, just other seasonal stuff. I'm doing a couple ciders this fall. I'm going to try and do a naturally fermented cider, see how that goes. And actually on the live stream, I have Tyler and Lori Brewed Up coming up. They're coming on the end of September, so.
Boo! No, I've had them on this show like 4 times, and I'm so passive aggressive about like, y'all could invite me on your show, and then I never get the call. They're trolling me. Oh, don't all. I understand because they can't wrap this. They can't rein this in. They're afraid. No, they're not. I love them. They're good, and they're like on their 4th or 5th season of their podcast, Brewed Up.
Yeah. But I mean, congrats to you on 400 episodes. That's crazy.
It's wild. I'll just leave it at that. It's wild. It'll be 10 years total since our first episode in February of 2025. It'll be 10 years. And we did, people can do the math like, well, that would be 520 episodes by then. Yeah, we sat out for like 9 months or 10 months. Yeah. But we even before that break, weekly content is not easy. And I'm preaching to the choir. I don't know if you have I know you consistently publish. I don't believe you adhere to hey guys, on the channel every Tuesday.
No, yeah.
No. Making promises like that. I really do the podcast to justify my existence at Cat Connection. Okay. That's the truth, guys. No, it's the funnest thing I do. Now I'm so grateful that James really, put it out there whenever he got hired on. He was like, he'd been on the show a couple of times as a guest, and he was like, you should do that again. Just think about doing it again. I was like, yeah, whatever, shut up. And then when I got hired full time again, it was like, yeah, let's do this. Because I don't want to, my real day job is so much more boring than people think it is. Like for what I do for Todd, it's just a lot of me sitting in this chair and helping people and all that. And it's actually funny, not to draw back the curtains too much, but like Todd's buddy, he just had a party. His dad's 90th happened. And one of his buddies made the comment of like, maybe I should do YouTube and retire and make that my living. And Todd was telling him, listen, we aren't even reasonably successful in regards to YouTube, but we know people, and not naming you, but like even bigger channels that aren't so niche. And that's not their full-time gig of just making monetized videos. Like, very rare does someone live exclusively off of monetization of their videos on YouTube. It's not, if it was easy, it would be even more saturated than it currently is. But yeah, you probably get that all the time, right? Like, oh, well, it must be nice to be a YouTuber and you're probably rich. And like, yeah, shut up.
Just doing it for the love, man. Just doing it for fun. Just fermenting weird things like Capri Sun. And seeing what happens.
We do it. Obviously, it is part of like it is part of Cat Connection and all that. But Todd really enjoys it, and I've able to convince him that to keep doing it because of the community. That's literally why we keep doing it. Like the feedback we get, not just on the show, but in regards to the topics that we're covering, or their experiences with us as Cat Connection, because they found us through the podcast and all that. The community we've able to foster. I won't say create. That sounds a little pretentious, but the community we've been able to foster, it's been mind blowing. And like I said, I see it in your chat too. And when I'm able to join. I watch a lot of when you do the live stream, I watch them after the fact. One of the times you did mention me, and I wish I was on it live in the chat so I could bring it up and say something not funny, but to me funny. But you have so much engagement, and it's so cool to see like, oh yeah, your channel, you got your regulars, and you got people, giving you encouragement on that. And even though there's a dozen plus brew tubers out there, everyone kind of fosters their own community, and there's crossover, but there's also, like, I think it's cool. Like this hobby, while the numbers might say more depressing things, like it's dying and less people are brewing and craft beer is in the worst state ever. Anecdotally, in my little bubble, it's like, no, this is still the best thing ever. It's still, encouragement through my week and weekends and whatnot. So
yeah. The people that are passionate are still here, I think. And
yes.
Yeah. I think it's still alive and kicking in my world, at least.
That's what I just say. The people like us and in the group chat and whatever, that's where I get encouragement, because it's like, oh yeah, there's still people on fire for not just beer, but just home brewing doesn't necessarily just mean beer. It's any kind of tinkering. And as someone, again, probably low IQ, I refuse to do the test. Tinkering, though, is something I get on board with. I just like it. I like creating stuff and all that.
Oh, but for sure.
Anyway, that's all I've got for you, my friend. Trent, I sincerely appreciate your time, and I won't take another almost year to get you back on the show.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com or email Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com. But even better, call it in 325-305-6107. And I promise you, because I'm desperate, I will play your voicemail on a future episode, and you'll get yourself a $25 gift card to catconnection.com. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Again, I implore you, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.